Now, at one point of our lives or another, a lot of us, if not all of us, would have come to that difficult situation where we felt like there's no way out. There's no escaping this one, right? But I've got good news for you, my brothers and sisters. There is always a way out. God has made a way for you and I to always have a way of escape, despite anything that we face. All we have to do is to follow the guidelines that God has made available for us through His Word, for us to be able to see that way of escape and to follow through effectively. Right now, this is what we're going to be doing in today's video. We're looking at, those difficult situations where it seems like, we cannot make it out. And we're also, more importantly, looking at the guidelines in Scripture by which we can always find our way of escape. Now, in order for you and I to enjoy 360-degree wealth, one of the key features we need to pay attention to is having a positive mindset. Now, having a positive mindset is also one of the key characteristics of having a kingdom mindset, which is one of the topics I spoke about in my previous videos. You could check that out, kingdom mindset, right? But when you have a positive mindset, right? Now, it means you're having a positive outlook, to life and to whatever is happening in and around you, right? So when things don't seem to be going your way, are you going to focus on the issue, or are you going to focus on, ways by which you can overcome those issues? Are you going to focus on the positives, or are you going to focus on the issues, right? Now, let's do a little scenario play here. I'm sure you're all familiar with the half full cup, half empty cup scenario. Now, let's switch it up a little notch, right? Now, what if you have a cup that is empty, right? What would be your outlook towards that cup, right? Would you see the cup as empty, or would you see the cup and see the possibility of you being able to go out there to fetch some water for you to have a full cup? Are you going to focus on the fact that the cup is empty, or are you going to focus on the fact that you have legs, you have arms, your sight is good, right? And your senses are available for you to identify where there is a lot of water for you to fetch? So are you going to be focusing on the problem, or are you going to be focusing on the solution to the problem, right? Now let's look at Adam and Eve. They were instructed to eat from any and every tree in the Garden of Eden, except from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So immediately we can say that their focus was on the wrong thing, right? If they had focused more on what they had rather than what they did not have, right? Possibly you and I might not be, hustling so much to be able to make it in life, right? So our focus is a very critical aspect of being able to have 360-degree wealth, having a positive mindset, and having that kingdom mindset, right? When we're focused on what we have rather than what we do not have, it helps us to have the positive mindset for us to make the right decisions. Now, one of the key questions we need to ask ourselves, especially as believers, is what are you focusing on, right? Now, remember what we said earlier, there is always a way out. Now, if there is always a way out, why does it seem like a lot of believers don't find their way out? Why does it seem so hard to always find a way out? Well, as we identified earlier, right, especially with the scenario of Adam and Eve, or with the half full cup and half empty cup scenario, the question is, what are you focusing on, right? Are you focusing on the positives, or are you focusing on the problems, right? Now, 2 Peter 1 verse 3 reminds us that God has given us everything we need for life and godliness through the knowledge of Him, for His excellence and glory. Now that means God has deposited in you something special that is unique only to you, right? Now, if you're not focusing on what's on the inside of you, but your focus is on someone else or, a distraction, then you are unlikely, highly unlikely to see that way out, right? So there is a way out for you, but if you don't focus on what's important, it's going to be very hard to see, to find, and to follow that way out, right? So it's very critical for you to be able to find that way out. You need to express, right, the God-given talent in you that is unique to you, and not the God-given talent of someone else that is unique to them, right? You have to be authentic, right? And for you to be authentic, you have to look inwards and you have to focus on what God has deposited on the inside of you. Now, one of the key passages in scripture that reminds us of always having a way out is 1 Corinthians 10:13, where it says, "No temptation has overcome man that is not common to man, but God is faithful," right? He's faithful because he's gonna always provide a way of escape, right? So that you can endure it, right? Now, this passage re-emphasizes to us that there is always a way out. There is always a way out of poverty. There is always a way out of sickness. There is always a way out of sin. There is always a way out of whatever you're facing right now and you feel is impossible for you to get out from. But what do we need to do? Just like we mentioned earlier, our focus needs to be shifted, right? God is saying right now, you need to shift your focus from the problem to the positives. You need to shift your focus from the problem to the way of escape, right? You need to shift your focus from the issues or the circumstance you're in, right, to the possibilities of where you are going to, where God is taking you to, right? Now, this is what God is saying to you and I right now. Shift our attention and shift our focus. Now, Philippians 4:8, I believe, says that whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, and admirable, if it is excellent, if it is praiseworthy, you should focus on such things. Now, this gives us a guideline on what our focus should be on. If whatever you're focusing on is not true, is not noble, is not pure, is not admirable, is not lovely, is not praiseworthy and excellent, then it is not suitable for you to waste your energy on, to focus on such things, right? We need to preoccupy our minds with the guidelines provided in Philippians 4:8 for us to focus our minds on, so that we can walk in the fullness of what God has destined for us and find our way of escape. The critical question that keeps coming up time and time again in helping us find a way out is, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on what the Bible encourages us to focus on? What is true, noble, pure, admirable, and lovely? If it is excellent and praiseworthy? Or are you focusing on the problems, the circumstances, or the situation? Right? When you focus on what you need to focus on, you're more likely going to see that way of escape. You're more likely going to see that way out. Right? Now, when God delivered the children of Israel from the hands of the Egyptians, he made a way of escape where there seemed to be no way. When God gave Abraham and Sarah their son Isaac at 190 years old, he made a way for them where there seemed to be no way. When God allowed Gideon with 300 men to defeat the Midianites of 135,000 men strong, he made a way where there seemed to be no way. So there's no situation that you're currently in right now that may seem impossible to upturn, that God cannot upturn. There is always a way out. There is always a way of escape, But you need to play your part by focusing on what scripture says we need to focus on. If you're focusing more on the problems than on the positivity, you're unlikely to see that way out of escape. Now imagine someone who's in a prison cell, but the doors are open. But all that person is focused on is the prison cell bars and not the fact that there's actually an open door right in front of that person. That is the situation with a lot of people most of the time. The focus is on the iron bars rather than the open door right in front of them. Again, God is saying you need to shift your focus. When you shift your focus, you are going to see that way of escape. You are going to see that there is always a way out. I encourage you, my brothers and sisters, shift your focus to what is positive, what is true, what is noble, what is pure, admirable, and lovely, excellent, and praiseworthy. And you're going to see that way out. You're going to see the way of escape. God is going to make you focus on what you need to focus on. And you're going to walk in the fullness of all that God has destined for you and also enjoy 360-degree wealth. Thank you once again, my brothers and sisters, for watching Generational Wealth TV. And I'm going to see you on the next one.